Is. No, I'm actually really excited to speak with you. I've been a big fan for years, and then you happened to cross my world in the horror section multiple
Right?
times, actually.
I get around. I get around. Sometimes they
Now,
kill me. Sometimes I.
you have a wide range, but specifically with the monsters, were you familiar with this IP, with this legacy of decades longs of monsters in our life?
EJ, was I familiar with the Munsters? Am I familiar with breathing? Am I familiar with seeing? Am I familiar with eating? Uh, yes, I was familiar with the Munsters. I loved the Munsters. I loved the Munsters. I loved as a child horror movies. Gothic horror movies were the first things that I really sucked my teeth into. And then comedy, which we on the East Coast of America, our comedy we learned through um, six guys.
Hmm.
Abbott Costello, uh, Jackie Gleason, Art Carney, and Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. Those were the six funny people beamed to us directly on Channel 11 out of New York City. So the Munsters, ugh, ugh. Could I believe one day I would be the Munsters? Yeah, no, I did not believe it. Yet here I am. Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, and you've earned your spot here with your decades of
thank you.
horror.
Thank
I
you.
mean, and I believe you are rightfully here, especially we'll talk about Rob Zombie in a second, but you've worked through the Rob Zombie world to earn this very great starring role. But you mentioned a little bit horror was an inspiration, which so funny. I have Abbott and Costello in my notes as well. We'll talk about that. But yeah, you talk about horror. What drew you to that genre growing up? I was a big horror fan growing up, so I'm always interested of what people's like gateway drug into the genre
Right.
was.
Well, I think it was we had Dr. Shock showing the
Mhm.
movies out of Philadelphia, and he made them accessible. That's why the horror host was there to kind of be silly. And we have to understand, in the 1960s, we didn't have kids would come up to my tables now, like I'm at a convention, and the parents will say, oh, they just, they love House of a Thousand Corpses, or and I think if I had the phone, you'd be like, "Oh, you show them House of a Thousand Corpses. Hello, is this social services?" You,
Yes.
I mean, so I wasn't watching that stuff. I was
Yes, yeah.
watching Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi and
Hmm.
and loving those movies, loving them so much. So that was the gateway. And then through Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, like you see them together. And then the very next step of that evolution scale would be the Munsters, right?
Hmm.
So now, like the genius of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein is the monsters are monsters.
Yes.
That's why it works. And the reason the Munsters works is because the monsters are just like the people next door. Um, and in my case, they were just like us. I mean, I think the Munsters initially was allegorically, conceptually, somewhere in there. Although, I don't know that I've ever heard the creators say it. But I mean, obviously, the Munsters were the black family that moved in your neighborhood that
Yeah.
you might be afraid of, but were exactly like you. So
Hmm.
you're an idiot. So allegorically, that's what they were in that sense. And that message isn't necessary as it was in 1964. Um, so in our neighborhood, there's African American people in the neighborhood of the,
Hmm.
and we're just the Munsters. But yeah, I've always that's a long-winded answer to a very simple question. Yes, I know the Munsters. Yes, I love the Munsters. But the monsters were kind of my lead in. And then since I was a little boy, EJ, I've collected. I've had I've been very forthright about my love. I should be probably a little more secretive. Like, we don't know what Brad Pitt collects. Um,
Hmm.
but he probably collects something. I know personally that Leonardo DiCaprio collects Mego toys. because
Mhm.
we had the same dealer.
Oh, I would love to know the Hollywood toy dealer. What a
Yeah,
great guy he must
oh, the
be.
great Mark Huckabee. He's the toy dealer to the stars.
That's great.
Yeah, what a great job that is. Everything costs too much anyway. Imagine selling. But if you came to me and you're like, "Oh, you've had this since you were a kid. Now we have a
Yeah.
version of this that you're actually in," and I'll be like, "That's me in there." Yeah, I'll pay you anything for that. $5,000. Okay. Um, I'm not that dumb, but
No, no, I get you. No, and now shifting to Rob Zombie a bit, who, if I make a list of favorite directors, he's often there, which a lot of people are always like, really? And I'm like, I love the dude. But I love that you keep returning to his worlds. What draws you to his craftsmanship?
well, any actor would be an idiot not to go back. Look, I've been in all those movies, and all those movies had, they had different financiers, they had different executive producers, some had studios, some didn't. But, Rob makes sure that his actors are um, free to create happy actors. Now, I mean, it's kind of a joke because he usually kills me off, or I have, you know, geez Louise, if I didn't talk as fast as I do, I almost didn't make Three from Hell. You know, shocked by the brevity of my role, uh, might have might have been my response. But he himself even jokes that I can never ever complain about the little parts in his movies. When we were making 31, EJ, I was strapped to the chair. Do you know that movie? And I'm the
Yes, I
first
do.
guy, like, Richard Brake comes out and he gives that monologue and then he kills me. And when we shot it, I was there watching the monologue without him blinking, holding the axe. And I'm thinking, this is just not going to end up well for me. But I mean, makeup was Wayne Toth for a couple hours. They beat the heck out of me. I'm a mess. You can't even see because it's black and white. I'm going to find, bear with me. This is the genius of having your phone has all your photos on it. I think I have. This is how beat up I really was
Oof.
in that. So it was
Oh my
hours.
goodness.
And I get to the set, and Richard's ready, and the show's really about Richard, obviously. But they put me on the chair, and then they start tying me. I'm like, you really doing that? You really tying me? Okay, that means when they tie you to a chair in a movie, that means something very particular for an actor. It means if your nose itches, you can't scratch it.
Yes.
Face, you have to say, is there a PA on hand to scratch my nose? So they they put me in the chair. They tie me to the chair, and then we're getting ready to shoot. And Rob goes, "Okay, drip the water." And I'm sitting there like, "What water?" He goes, "We're gonna drip water on you." And I was like, "You gonna drip water on me too?" And then all of a sudden, drips
Oh
of.
my goodness.
So a drip of water, a rainfall of water is fine. A drip of water makes you itch, and then it brings that blood right in your eye. I mean, it was so it got miserable and more miserable. And he goes, "Okay, is everybody ready? Anybody have any other concerns?" And I said, "Can I just say one thing?" And he goes, "What?" I said, other movies, other directors, I actually star in the movie. I'm not killed in the first 5 minutes. Okay. Um, so but here's the thing. This is what he learned from me is, obvious jokes aside, I never complain. I wasn't like,
Yeah.
my eye itches. No, I just like did the thing. And that's what you look for when you're working with people, Jay. You look for people who get your rhythm
Yeah.
and get your pace and get your style and move as fast as you do. Because I direct too, and my actors have to be ready when I'm ready, because
Yeah.
I'm standing the whole time. Sometimes I'm acting in a scene with them, sometimes I'm not. So it'd be very frustrated if I'm doing 6 things and I'm prepared to do it, if they have one thing to do and they're not prepared. So you tend to rise to the occasion. But just one more note about that, working for as long as I have in so many different mediums, you learn very quickly that if Andy Griffith knows his lines, you know your lines.
Yeah.
You don't make Andy Griffith wait for you. You don't make Don Johnson wait for you. You're ready to go every time. So
no, I think anyone in this industry is blessed to be here, kind of vibe. So just enjoy what you're doing and do it. Which you're talking about directing style, and you're talking about thing, which shifts into my next question. Was there a difference of Rob Zombie on set for something like 31 or Lords of Salem or any of these crazy movies to the Munsters? Does he come on set with a different energy, with a different vibe? Let's listen to different music on set today. I'm curious of how someone like him approaches.
That's a really good question. I would say overall, it's a great question. We had joy because we were making the movie, but for Rob, he had a whole nother thing to deal with, which was he had a studio to please that was at he just had a studio to please, and so that's another set of weight on him, and so that's hard, but we always had fun. And I mean, if things got too tense in any situation, I would usually jump in the middle of the room and go, "Where is that?" But I think it was kind of the same. He is a very smart, technical director, as well as a very sensitive actors director. So technically, he's got a lot of stuff he's looking at and thinking about, and then he's got to direct us in a manner that we hear it and we get it and we do it and we give him exactly what he wants.
No, my last question for you is something to kind of talk about you for a moment. I know you work in, especially living in this area, in the faith-based film market. You are getting to be prolific in that. I like that you also do that, but have the world of horror kind of around you. How do those two worlds mix together? How do you find the balance? And do you kind of like being like, look, this is a job, I get to go have fun here, and then, I'm curious of that. That's a two very different worlds.
It's a very good question. Look, God gave me a gift, but he didn't give me a rule book. He didn't say, now some actors who work in the faith-based world wouldn't do what I do. To them, I would say, you're missing out. We have a lot of so I just go where Jesus leads me, really. And I feel like it's been good for me because in the world of horror, I could speak. Look, if someone's putting me on their show, I get to say what I feel. I talk at schools a lot, and they might say, well, don't see anything religious. And I'll say, sorry about this, but if you're asking about me from my perspective, I'm not going to, if I'm not censoring this, I'm not censoring. I always censor politics, nobody's business. Faith, though, it is
it's
impossible.
A part of you.
Well, and it's impossible for anybody. This is key to see, because I don't think, and I keep this picture handy so that I'm reminded of how good things could be. I mean, look, sorry about that.
No.
That's me at 12 amazing. And me at 59. Now, the only way that happens is you've got to stay true to your art, but you have to stay true to the world. If I was a miserable human being, I wouldn't have earned this opportunity. So I try to be good and happy. People could find more information at channelofpeace.org. But the movies that my not-for-profit that we make the movies through, but I will tell you this, when I make a faith-based movie, I make a movie that's entertaining, that has a component of faith. I do not bring a sledgehammer to the set. I do not do to you what Richard Brake did to me. Believe what I believe. No, I just say, here's great characters and a great story. And getting back to the Munsters, great characters in a great story. A fantastic approach that Rob Zombie brought to it.
It's amazing.
New way to look at it.
No, I had a great time watching it. My 4-year-old stepson loved it. He likes Goosebumps and the horror world, but with the Chucky's the most we've let him venture into the world, but Munsters was perfect for him. He got it, loved the style. So thank you so much for giving my whole family something we can watch together and still be horror.
Thank you. And imagine
thank you.
Maybe one day someone will ask your stepson what his introduction was, and he'll say, it was the Munsters. I mean, isn't that
generations?
Yeah.
God bless. Thank you so much, Daniel. No, I can't